Chapter 7, Musical Expression, Tempo and Dynamics. That's about, says it all. Tempo, what is tempo, right? Is the rate of speed or pace of the music, right? Is it bum, 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 or is it bum, 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 or bum, 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 bum? We use Italian terms generally to designate musical tempo. Some of the most familiar are allegro, Italian for fast, moderato for moderate, adagio, quite slow, accelerando, meaning that you're changing the speed by speeding up, and retardando is mean you're changing the speed by slowing down. So it's bum, 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 or bum, 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 right? Accelerating or decelerating. Dynamics describe the volume or how loud, right? The soft music is played. Italian terms of dynamics include forte, which means loud, and piano, which means soft. So dynamic means change, right? It's like if we say the weather is dynamic. When with the technical website addresses, right? You have static IP addresses and you have dynamic IP addresses. Static IP addresses means that they don't change. You pay more for that. Like a bank has a static IP address. But you and I, we have dynamic IP addresses. Every time we log on, we are randomly assigned an IP address. Incidentally, these Italian terms, words in Italian that N and O are singular, and that same word becomes parallel, plural by changing the O to I. So if you're talking about a piece of music that has a number of different tempos, you wouldn't say that. You would say it has a number of different tempi. Same thing with all of these words. Allegro could be allegri. I don't know why you'd have many fasts, but that's really the way the Italian works. It's like spaghetti is plural, and one piece of pasta is a spaghetto. The piano itself is, the full name is pianoforte, or is it forte piano? I forget. But because when it was invented, the piano, it was an improvement over the harpsichord, because the harpsichord could only play one volume level. If you pushed the key hard or soft, it was still the same loudness. But the piano has the capability of pushing harder and playing louder, and pushing slightly and playing softer. And so the real name of the piano, the instrument, is pianoforte, or forte piano. I can't remember. Anyway, but composers, when they write a piece of music, they have an intention on how it should be performed, and they will indicate tempos, tempi, and dynamics with terms. This was established in the Romantic period in the 19th century in Italy, and where we use the Italian terms. But there are composers from other countries that just say, forget that. I'm going to put my terms in expressive terms and tempo terms in my own language. So lots of times you'll see it in German. But the main thing that you want to be able to do is communicate to other musicians. And if you write a piece of music and you don't know if it's going to be performed in Hong Kong or in Lithuania or Pennsylvania, you want to make sure that you get your message across. And if it requires using Italian words rather than the words that you normally would use on your native language, it's better to be able to communicate to as many people as possible to get your message across. Different style periods, tempos tempi are treated differently. They're treated differently. in the Baroque period, you know generally did not change the tempo or even the dynamics, except for like if you played this section loud and you repeated it, you might play it soft, and but you wouldn't gradually build up like you would in the Romantic period, where you start and it gets louder and louder and louder, or softer and softer and softer. And the same thing with the speed; it changes in the Romantic period and the Classical period also, but not in the Baroque generally. Um, and so these terms, and you don't have to know these terms, but you have to know that they exist. Grave, largo, adagio, what do they mean, right? It's just kind of and it's not a specific speed. We can't say that grave, we supposedly grave is going to be slower than largo, is going to be slower than adagio. And, but they're not scientific, right? They're subjective. And um, kind of the starting point is andante. And I like to think, because I know a little bit of Spanish, but in Spanish you would say andar, right, to walk. And so this andante is a walking pace. It's not a running pace. It's a nice walking pace. And so how fast is that? Well, again, it's subjective. But if the piece of music says andante, that's what they're telling you, a walking pace. Moderato just means moderate, and allegro means fast. So basically, you have um, fast and slow, and then andante. So, uh, oh, and then there's other terms, of course, fast and vivace and presto, very fast. And then you have these modifiers, very less or little. It might say, molto allegro. It's like, wow, very fast, right? Poco andante, or just a little bit of that, or not too much, right? Non troppo, allegro non troppo, right? Fast, but not too much. So how fast is that? That's subjective, and even with those terms, you'll see wide uh, differences with performances as far as the tempos. And some people like it faster or slower, but it just says allegro non troppo. It's like, well, how fast is that? And then, of course, we have these changes of tempo, accelerando, retardando, right? And then if you have changed the speed, and if you want to go back to the first speed, it's a tempo. Again, I don't think that it's necessary that you know the meaning of all these words, certainly not for this class, but it's just good to know that this is how composers communicate with performers. Neat picture? Speed and movement. And then the dynamics, the loudness and softness. Again, this is subjective, and it's relative to one. So if you have a piano and you're playing the level of piano, right? My one conductor teacher in graduate school, he'd say it's piano. It's not piano. Piano is that instrument, but it's piano. So okay, and so if you are already playing a level of music and it's piano, and the next thing you see is very soft, so well, you better make it softer. It's relative to what came before. And it's like sometimes on the guitar, it's like you can only play so loud. And so it says forte. Well, how do you play forte? Uh, well, you make sure that you play soft, because when you play soft, then you can have a forte, because it's relative to one or the other, at least whatever is appropriate for what you're trying to accomplish. Um, and then the dynamics can change, right? We have these in the classical period, these long periods where it just grows louder and louder, louder, or softer and softer. I said that. And sometimes you have a big, strong boom that takes place, and this is an accent, right? A strong point in the music. It's called a sforzando. Again, you don't need to know the exact terms. Um, some composers put a lot of uh, information to communicate, and some don't put much. But it's kind of a duty to respect the performer's intention and the composer's intention as a performer, to respect the composer's intention and not just go crazy with a piece of music as you feel like. That's not appropriate. Again, here's our Beethoven. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. And all these turns. This is a means that you hold that note for what is appropriate length of time. And again, here is a volume indication. And this is now soft, right? Very loud and soft. Examples of so it says allegro con brio is the way this is, right? So anyway, a lot of information on this music score, that's what we call it, right? Tempo dynamics and the music score. Why is it called a score? I don't know. Does it have to do with scoring it out? Right? Let's see. Dynamics. Okay, that's the end of chapter 7.